What are we going to tell the windmill people? There are some in town that think that's the answer to everything.
I know that's a very popular misconception, and wind is there's a lot of issues with the wind. Wind has enormous transmission constraints, and it has a major problem with it is the wind blows when people don't need power. It blows in the fall and the spring when loads are way down, and it doesn't blow in the summer and winter when you need it. It also is not dispatchable, meaning if you want to say, I need 10 megawatts of wind, you can't just dispatch on it and call it like you can fire up a coal plant or a gas plant or things like that. The other thing is, it also, where does the wind blow? Not only when, where does it blow? It blows essentially in the middle of nowhere where there's not a lot of load centers. So you can't just put up a huge wind farm in the middle of downtown Chicago. You have to put it way out in Nebraska and Iowa, and then you have the big transmission problem. And you have huge load following. If you want to get real electrical geeky terms, you got big load following problems because the load will just swing back and forth. All of a sudden, if the wind picks up, there's a huge outage in Texas because they got so much wind, and all of a sudden the wind just picked up there. Nobody was expecting it, and all of a sudden, 2 gigawatts of wind came on the system, and that just throws havoc into everything. So there is a place for wind. There is a place for wind. It's renewable. There is a place for wind. It is not the answer. It is not a base load resource. Until you can figure out how to store wind, then it's not a base load resource like coal and gas and nuclear are.
We're going to have these issues whether we have wind power or not.
Specifically to Lakeview?
Yeah.
Whether or not you want to have some. Now, that's a whole different ballgame. If you were, I don't know if I'd want to own as much as I would maybe want to have wind purchases in your portfolio. That might be good. You could have some sort of purchase contracts where you purchase 5% of your resources from wind. We do that with a lot of our wholesale electric members. We have a wind farm in Kimball, Nebraska, and we go out and just say, do you want some wind? Some say yes, some say no, and then they just build it in, and it's just right now I believe our wind's $51 or 5.1 cents per kilowatt hour on that's the wholesale side, and so it is a little bit more expensive. But if some of them, we have like Aspen, Colorado is one of our members, and so they, we have some members that do want to have that wind either because they have a state mandate or they just want to be green. So that's a whole different discussion. If you wanted to have wind, that's kind of something you guys could explore on your own, what the cost impacts would be and whether or not having it.
But you also got to remember that affects our WAPA a lot too.
Right. The key is on what he's going to talk about next is the Upper Great Plains Loveland Area Project. We have customers in the Loveland Area Project, WAPA region, and they actually give renewable energy credits for their wind, for their small hydro facilities. And so every megawatt hour you get from WAPA, you get a renewable energy credit. Now in Nebraska, they're worthless right now. But in some places in Colorado, when they're looking at state mandates, they might be worth something. And they might be worth something if there's ever a federal mandate on renewable energy. Meaning a federal mandate saying everybody in the country has to have 20% of their electricity come from renewable energy. And the caveat is old hydro in some legislative bills is not considered renewable energy, which is kind of ridiculous if you think about it, because why would, the whole point is they're saying they want to shovel ready jobs, get these projects on the ground, and what they don't realize, you can build all the wind farms and all the solar and all the all these things you want, but you better know what the cost is going to be, because right now it's more expensive.
From the sounds of it too, I guess you could build all the windmills too, and you still need coal power to back it up.
Well, that's what I'm talking, base load, meaning, for example, if you need some sort of base load. These lights on right now, that's just base load. You just need it all the time. You can't, otherwise you can call and say, all right, wind, let's go. Until you can figure out how to do that or store wind, it's never going to be a base load resource. It's always going to be subjective to the weather, whereas a coal, gas, and nuclear, really coal and nuclear is your base load. You don't ramp those up and down. So you run those full bore, that's your base load, and then you're going to have these you're gonna have, when everybody's air conditioner kicks on in July, you don't want your base load to reach your peak load, so you just have it run at a base load, and then when you have your load go above that, then you start running like your gas units and maybe even some diesels and some things that are much more expensive, but you only run them when on peak times and you need them. The thing about wind is, it's just like you have no, it's just whenever it blows, it blows.
Okay.
When the wind's blowing, they're turning the little knob, turns the generators down.
See, that's the thing, you're ramping down cheap coal, cheap to run coal that might cost $20, and I'm talking per megawatt hour, which is 2 cents per kilowatt hour. You'd be ramping down $20 coal so that you can have $50 wind. That's what we're at right now.
Well, you probably ask about the generator. There's a few people around town that say we do one like Wall Lake, and I just don't know if that's right.
It will cost you money. Plus you'll be, when that windmill's running, you won't be getting your WAPA allotment.
Well, I guess
Because
like
there's
you
times
said,
we're
if you
getting
own
90%
it,
of our WAPA
then you gotta
power.
maintain it too.
Real huge. I would just personally, just not speaking on behalf of NMPP, I wouldn't recommend owning. I would recommend, if you want a wind, looking into finding somebody that would sell you 5% of your, but I don't know how that affects your Mid-America contract, and I don't know all the things all around that. Right now, while there's no mandates, I don't see a lot of benefit, and with a large WAP allocation, I would just kind of sit where you're at.
You know Tom Wynn, don't you? Or Tom Wynn's an engineer that does windmills. He did Wall Lakes. Well, he's big in wind. That's his last name's Wynn, but it's actually, it really is.
I'll tell you, with with Wall Lake specifically, renewable energy credits were worth about $3 per rec for renewable energy credit, which means the megawatt hours that they were producing, they were getting $3 per megawatt hour that they were producing out of that windmill. Well, that market's kind of gone away. The market now is about $1. So that also impacts it too. They were selling RECs for $3. Now they probably couldn't get much more than $1. So, that's another little financial impact too.